that Michael constantly told me, LaToya, if I die, they're going to murder me, they're going to kill me.
For years, the Jackson family has been surrounded by rumors and controversy, with LaToya Jackson often keeping her thoughts and experiences to herself. Whether you've been following the Jacksons closely or just heard bits and pieces, this confession is going to be one of the most surprising yet. After years of speculation, secrets, and rumors, LaToya Jackson finally admits what we all suspected. In this video, I'll walk you through the dark secrets she's uncovered about one of the world's most famous families. So watch until the finish because you don't want to miss this. The Jackson family. Prior to discussing LaToya Jackson's life story and the discoveries she made, it is important to comprehend the larger background. The Jackson family that influenced her. The Jacksons, one of the most recognizable and significant families in music history, not only left a lasting musical legacy, but also became a cultural phenomenon with an impact that extended well beyond the recording studio. The Jackson family's journey begins in Gary, Indiana, a tiny industrial city where Joseph and Catherine Jackson raised their 9 children. In the early 1960s, Joe Jackson, a former boxer and steelworker, spotted his son's musical abilities and began molding them into a coherent group that would soon take the world by storm. Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Michael Jackson formed the Jackson 5, a Motown success that launched the family's climb to prominence. The Jackson 5's rise was meteoric. The group became a global hit because to their addictive blend of pop, soul, and rhythm and blues, as well as their close harmonies and Michael's compelling stage persona as a child. Hits like I Want You Back, ABC, and I'll Be There dominated the charts, catapulting the Jackson brothers into the spotlight and cementing their status as pop culture legends. You might think you know everything about the Jackson family, but LaToya's latest confession will make you question everything you thought was true. What she reveals in this shocking admission is nothing short of mind-blowing, confirming the whispers that have lingered for years. Just when you think it couldn't get any more intense, she drops a revelation so powerful that it'll leave you stunned. Make sure you stick around until the very end because the truth is more complicated and more intriguing than anyone ever imagined. This is one video you'll be talking about for days. Behind the scenes, Joseph Jackson drove the group's success. As the family's manager, Joe was known for his stern and often harsh discipline, which has become a defining part of the Jackson family story. He was unwavering in his quest for excellence, forcing his kids to practice for hours on end while retaining strict control over their public image and private life. While Joe's management style unquestionably contributed to the success of the Jackson 5, it also came at a high personal cost to the family. Throughout the years, various accounts have emerged regarding Joe's severe pressure on his children, particularly Michael, who would later speak publicly about the physical and emotional abuse he suffered at the hands of his father. Joe's authoritarian approach instilled fear and animosity in the Jackson family, contributing to the complex and often tense relationships. There's been times when he'd come to see me and I would get sick. I'd start to regurgitate, he said in an interview with Oprah Winfrey. In contrast to Joe's commanding presence, Catherine Jackson was a calm, loving figure in the family. Catherine, a devout Jehovah's Witness, was profoundly concerned for her children's well-being and frequently served as a buffer between them and their father. While Catherine supported Joe's aim to make their sons celebrities, she was more concerned with preserving the family's togetherness and moral ideals. Her influence was modest but important, offering emotional support to her children as they dealt with the pressures of celebrity. Despite her best efforts to safeguard her children, Catherine frequently found herself unable to counter Joe's authority. Her role as the family matriarch was eclipsed by Joe's public image as the architect of the Jacksons' prosperity. However, individuals close to the family have constantly portrayed Catherine as the glue that kept the family together, especially during times of stress. None of the Jackson siblings achieved greater recognition or impact than Michael Jackson, also known as the King of Pop. Michael's solo career took off in the late 1970s, and by the 1980s he was a global phenomenon. His albums Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad shattered records and pushed the limits of popular music. Thriller, in particular, became the best-selling album of all time, with famous singles such as Billie Jean, Beat It, and the title track, as well as innovative music videos that transformed the industry. Despite the hurdles, each of the Jackson siblings had successful careers in their own right. Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Randy each made solo albums with varied degrees of success. Jermaine, in particular, established a successful solo career with songs such as Let's Get Serious. The Jackson sisters, Rebby, LaToya, and Janet, all followed music and entertainment professions. Janet Jackson, the youngest sibling, rose to prominence with a succession of successful albums and songs, cementing her status as one of the most important female performers of her generation. However, the family's public image was frequently marred by scandals and conflicts. Michael's legal struggles, LaToya's public disagreements with her family, and the ups and downs in the siblings' personal lives kept the Jacksons in the spotlight, frequently for reasons unconnected to their music. These concerns, combined with the pressures of celebrity and the delicate dynamics inside the family, resulted in a narrative that was equally tragic and triumphant. The Jackson family's legacy is one of extraordinary talent and enduring influence, but it is also a story marked by complexity and contradiction. They were not just a musical family, they were a dynasty that reshaped the landscape of popular culture. While the success of the Jackson 5 and Michael Jackson's unparalleled career brought them worldwide fame, it also exposed the deep-seated issues within the family. As we explore LaToya Jackson's personal journey, it's important to remember the broader context of the Jackson family, a family that, despite its flaws and challenges, remains one of the most iconic in the history of music. Get ready to be blown away by one of the most shocking admissions in entertainment history. LaToya Jackson has been in the spotlight for years, but never like this. She's finally opening up about the secrets that have haunted her for decades, and what she reveals will leave you absolutely stunned. Just when you think you've heard it all, LaToya drops a truth bomb that will make you question everything. You'll be glued to your screen as she unravels the mystery piece by piece. And trust me, you'll want to stick around until the last second because the final reveal will change everything you thought you knew. The early life of LaToya Jackson. LaToya Yvonne Jackson, born on May 29, 1956 in Gary, Indiana, was the fifth of Joseph and Catherine Jackson's 10 children. Growing up as part of the Jackson family was anything but ordinary. LaToya, like her brothers, was thrown into the spotlight at a young age, leading a life methodically supervised by her father, Joe Jackson, who had a clear vision for the family's rise to stardom. While the world witnessed a family filled with brilliance and success, LaToya's early years were plagued by hidden challenges. LaToya's youth, like those of her brothers, was heavily influenced by her father's goals. Joe Jackson, a former steelworker turned music manager, was desperate to help his children become stars. The Jackson household was one of discipline and high expectations, with each child given a role in the family's musical endeavor. While her brothers performed as the Jackson 5, LaToya was being prepared for a career in the entertainment industry. The Jackson family's ascent to prominence began in the late 1960s, with the Jackson 5 swiftly becoming one of Motown's most popular acts. As the group's success grew, the entire family became a public spectacle, constantly under media scrutiny. LaToya, like her siblings, was required to project a polished, professional image to the public at all times. This required a demanding schedule of rehearsals, performances, and public appearances, leaving little time for usual childhood activities. For LaToya, this lifestyle was a double-edged sword. On one hand, she was part of a family that was achieving incredible success and breaking new ground in the music industry. On the other hand, the demands of fame and the rigorous control exerted by her father left her feeling stifled and unsure of her own identity. Joe Jackson had a very severe management style. He managed the Jackson household with military efficiency, and his word was law. The children's lives were meticulously planned to optimize their prospects of success, with little regard for their particular preferences or emotional requirements. Joe had high standards and would not tolerate failure. This climate of tight discipline extended to LaToya, who, like her brothers, was required to follow Joe's rigid framework. In interviews and her book, LaToya has discussed the emotional and psychological toll that her upbringing had on her. The continual pressure to perform, combined with the dread of upsetting her father, created an anxious and tense atmosphere in the Jackson household. Joe's methods may have launched the family to fame, but they also left lasting scars, especially on LaToya, who frequently felt overshadowed by her more renowned siblings. LaToya had a complicated relationship with her father. While she admired his dedication and part in building the family's prosperity, she despised the lack of freedom and emotional distance that marked their encounters. Joe's authoritarian parenting style provided little room for individual expression, and LaToya, like her brothers, suffered with feelings of inadequacy and an insatiable desire for praise. Growing up in the shadow of her brother Michael Jackson was a major difficulty for LaToya during her childhood. Michael, who was younger than LaToya, immediately emerged as the family's star. His tremendous aptitude and charisma were apparent from an early age, and as he pursued a solo career, his renown surged to levels much exceeding those of his siblings. Living in the shadow of Michael's enormous success filled LaToya with both pride and sadness. On the one hand, she appreciated her brother's accomplishments and felt happy to be a part of the Jackson heritage. On the other hand, she fought to establish her own identity within the family and the entertainment world. Michael's celebrity frequently overshadowed the efforts of his siblings, making it difficult for LaToya to establish her own identity. LaToya's emotions of being overlooked were exacerbated by the family's internal dynamics. LaToya frequently felt forgotten in a family where success was defined by public adulation and record sales. While her brothers were hailed as musical prodigies, she began to question her own abilities and worth. The expectation to live up to the Jackson name weighed heavily on her, and she struggled with low self-esteem throughout her childhood and into adulthood. Despite the obstacles, LaToya remained motivated to discover her own voice. Throughout her childhood, she explored ways to distinguish herself from her brothers and assert her uniqueness. This trip was not easy, given her rigorous upbringing and the demands placed on her. LaToya's early years were defined by her search for self-discovery as she navigated the intricacies of fame, family, and personal ambition. As LaToya grew older, she began to look for chances outside of the shadow of her brothers. She sought a solo career in music, acting, and later writing, hoping to establish herself as an independent artist and public figure. Her early life, which was distinguished by discipline, ambition, and a desire for identity, lay the groundwork for the woman she would become. A woman who, despite the difficulties of her childhood, was determined to leave her mark on the world. LaToya Jackson's early life was one of contrasts, between the public image of a successful, talented family and the private struggles of a young woman trying to find her place within that family. Growing up in the Jackson household meant living under the strict rule of her father and in the shadow of her famous siblings, particularly Michael. Yet these challenges also fueled LaToya's determination to forge her own path. Her early experiences shaped her into a complex and resilient individual, whose journey of self-discovery would continue to unfold in the years to come. LaToya Jackson's education. LaToya Yvonne Jackson, a member of one of the world's most famous families, received an education that was not ordinary. LaToya's school experience was unique, shaped by her family's frenetic schedule and the pressures of notoriety. Despite these challenges, LaToya had a lifelong interest in learning and curiosity, which would shape her approach to education both inside and outside of the classroom. As the fifth of 10 children born to Joe and Catherine Jackson, LaToya was immersed in the performing arts from a young age. Despite the overwhelming presence of music and performance in her home, LaToya first aspired to a career in law, specifically corporate law. This early goal represented her independent character, as she sought to follow a different route than her siblings, who were already making waves in the music world. LaToya's upbringing was characterized by stringent religious values. LaToya's mother became a Jehovah's Witness in 1966 when she was 10 years old, and the family soon followed suit. LaToya and her siblings were actively involved in religious practices, including door-to-door evangelization, which is a characteristic of the faith. Around subsequent years, LaToya would relate her experiences, telling how she and her brother Michael would spend their mornings spreading the message of Jehovah around Los Angeles. This time in her life instilled in LaToya a feeling of discipline and duty, which would eventually shape her approach to her job and personal life. By the time LaToya reached adolescence, her life began to take on the spotlight that her older brothers had already embraced. At the age of 17, LaToya joined her brothers in a tap dancing routine as part of a series of shows organized by her father, Joe Jackson. These performances, held in Las Vegas and other places, marked LaToya's professional debut in the entertainment industry. This transition from her relatively secluded upbringing to the public eye was crucial because it marked the start of her career in entertainment. Despite her burgeoning career in the entertainment industry, LaToya continued to prioritize her education. She attended California Prep, a private school in Encino, Los Angeles, where she completed her high school education. California Prep, known for catering to children of celebrities and high-profile individuals, provided LaToya with a balanced environment where she could focus on her studies while managing the demands of her family's growing fame. LaToya graduated from California Prep in 1974 at the age of 18, marking an important milestone in her life. Following high school, LaToya briefly attended college with the goal of earning a degree in business law. This decision was motivated by her ambition to forge her own identity, independent of her family's artistic legacy. She regarded business law as an opportunity to thrive and establish herself outside of the entertainment world. However, her scholarly endeavors were short-lived. Joe Jackson, the Jackson family patriarch, had a different plan for LaToya. He insisted that she join the family business and seek a career in the entertainment industry. Joe had a tremendous impact, and LaToya, like her siblings, was eventually dragged back into the world of entertainment. In 1976, just 2 years after graduating from high school, LaToya, along with her sisters Rebby and Janet, appeared in The Jacksons, a CBS TV variety show featuring the Jackson siblings. This marked LaToya's first major television appearance and solidified her place in the family's entertainment dynasty. The show ran for 12 episodes, during which LaToya, Rebby, and Janet sang, danced, and performed skits alongside their brothers. This experience was a pivotal moment in LaToya's life, as it marked her full immersion into the entertainment industry, a path she had not initially envisioned for herself. Her education was also shaped by her experiences in the entertainment industry. As she began to carve out her own career, LaToya learned valuable lessons about the business side of show business, negotiating contracts, understanding the dynamics of the music industry, and navigating the often treacherous waters of public relations. These experiences, while not part of a formal curriculum, were crucial to her development as an independent artist and public figure. LaToya's education, in many ways, was a reflection of her character, resilient, curious, and determined. While she may not have had the traditional schooling experience that most people go through, she made the most of the opportunities available to her, turning her unconventional upbringing into a lifelong quest for knowledge and self-improvement. Prepare yourself for a roller coaster of emotions as LaToya Jackson steps into the spotlight to finally confirm what's been on everyone's mind for years. Her admission is more than just shocking. It's the key that unlocks one of the biggest mysteries in pop culture. Every detail she shares will have you on the edge of your seat, and just when you think you've heard it all, she drops another bombshell that takes this story to a whole new level. Don't go anywhere, because LaToya's final words will resonate with you long after the video ends. This is the truth you've been waiting for. LaToya Jackson's career. LaToya Jackson's career began under the imposing shadow of her world-famous brothers, especially Michael Jackson, whose remarkable success in the music industry frequently overshadowed his siblings' successes. However, LaToya was determined to forge her own personality and carve out a place for herself in the entertainment industry. She has worn several hats over the years: singer, songwriter, novelist, and television personality, proving herself to be adaptable and tenacious in the face of both public scrutiny and personal problems. LaToya's music career started in 1980 with the publication of her self-titled debut album, LaToya Jackson. This record marked her official entree into the realm of professional music and provided an opportunity for her to emerge from behind her brother's towering legacy. The album included the breakthrough single If You Feel the Funk, which highlighted LaToya's unique style and vocals, distinguishing her from the Motown sound that had come to characterize the Jackson 5. While LaToya's debut album did not have the same commercial success as her brother's albums, it established her as a major performer in her own right. Her use of funk, pop, and R&B components in her music demonstrated her versatility and willingness to experiment with diverse genres. Unlike Michael's polished pop songs, LaToya's music frequently featured a grittier, more rebellious edge, reflecting her desire to assert her identity. Throughout the 1980s, LaToya continued to create songs, hoping to build on the groundwork laid by her debut. Her second album, My Special Love, was released in 1981, and her third, Heart Don't Lie, was published in 1984, solidifying her position in the music industry. Heart Don't Lie, in particular, gained traction, with the title track being one of her most successful singles. The song's infectious chorus and energetic tempo drew in crowds and remains one of her most remembered successes. Despite these accomplishments, LaToya's music career was frequently eclipsed by her brother Michael's meteoric rise at the same period. However, LaToya's perseverance and ambition to carve her own way in the profession were clear. She refused to be just another Jackson sibling, instead attempting to create a unique image and sound that expressed her personality and artistic vision. LaToya's career in the 80s and early 1990s was also distinguished by her daring public persona, which frequently garnered as much attention as her music. Unlike her more conservative siblings, LaToya adopted a flamboyant and occasionally controversial character, frequently making headlines with daring fashion choices and outspoken beliefs. She was noted for her elegant and occasionally provocative style, which included high fashion, elaborate hairstyles, and an unabashed acceptance of her sexuality. This image was most prominently featured in 1989, when LaToya posed for Playboy magazine. This move surprised many and cemented her status as the Jackson family's most divisive member. The decision to appear in Playboy was both a statement of independence from her family's traditional values and an assertion of control over her own image. LaToya subsequently remarked that this was a liberating decision for her, allowing her to break free from the constraints of her upbringing and establish her independence. However, her provocative image and candid nature also made her a target for criticism and negative media coverage. LaToya often found herself at the center of scandals and controversies, many of which were amplified by the press. Despite this, she remained resilient, using her public persona to keep her in the spotlight and continue her career in entertainment. In addition to her music career, LaToya became a familiar face on television. She was a frequent guest on talk shows and reality TV programs, where she often discussed her personal life, her relationships, and her views on her famous family. LaToya's openness about her experiences and struggles made her a compelling figure in the media, as she often spoke about topics that were typically off-limits for the notoriously private Jackson family. One of her most notable television ventures was her own reality series, Life with LaToya, which premiered in 2013 on the Oprah Winfrey Network, OWN. The show offered viewers a glimpse into LaToya's life, exploring her personal and professional challenges as she navigated her career and relationships. The series was an opportunity for LaToya to connect with a new generation of fans and to share her journey in her own words. Life with LaToya was part of a broader trend in her career where she sought to redefine herself and step out from the shadow of her family's fame. Through the show, she portrayed herself as a resilient and independent woman who had overcome significant challenges to achieve success on her terms. Despite the ups and downs of her career, LaToya Jackson has remained a determined and resilient figure in the entertainment industry. While she may not have reached the same level of superstardom as her brother Michael, her contributions to music, television, and popular culture are significant in their own right. LaToya's career has been a testament to her ability to adapt and reinvent herself in an industry that is often unforgiving. Her provocative image, outspoken personality, and willingness to tackle difficult subjects have made her a polarizing figure, but they have also ensured that she remains a relevant and intriguing presence in the public eye. LaToya's determination to pursue her passions, even in the face of criticism and controversy, speaks to her strength of character and her commitment to forging her own path. Early suspicions of mistreatment in the Jackson family. Long before LaToya's public admissions, there were whispers and suspicions about the Jackson family, notably concerning how their father, Joe Jackson, treated the children. Over the years, different family members, acquaintances, and even members of the media have hinted at Joe's frequently harsh parenting style. Michael Jackson, in particular, has publicly discussed his childhood traumas. In interviews, he portrayed his father as a strict disciplinarian who would physically discipline the children for making mistakes during rehearsals. Michael's memories of his upbringing formed a picture of a family filled with fear and anxiety, where perfection was expected and failing was not an option. Other Jackson siblings, including Jermaine and Marlon and some others, defended their father's methods as necessary for their success. Others acknowledged the emotional and psychological toll it took on them. Despite these early suspicions and claims, it wasn't until LaToya came forward that the public began to get a clearer picture of the extent of the issues within the Jackson family. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. LaToya Jackson, the woman who has always been a mystery even within her own legendary family, is finally ready to set the record straight. But what she admits will send shockwaves through everything you thought you knew about the Jacksons. From cryptic clues to the full-blown truth, LaToya holds nothing back in this jaw-dropping confession. Every twist and turn in her story is more unbelievable than the last, and I promise you, you won't want to miss how it all ends. Buckle up, because this ride is about to get wild. LaToya confirms the dark secret of the Jackson family. Now this is where things take a dark turn. LaToya Jackson's revelations about her family weren't just shocking, they were a confirmation of what many had long suspected but dared not speak aloud. LaToya finally admitted the painful truths about the Jackson family. She confirmed that her father, Joe Jackson, was indeed abusive towards his children. According to LaToya, Joe's methods were far more severe than most people realized. She described a household where fear was a constant companion, and where the children were often punished for even the smallest infractions. He would take guns and point them to our heads, and he'd pull the trigger all the time. He would take matches and burn our toes, he'd laugh, and we couldn't do anything, she said. But LaToya didn't stop there. She also revealed that the mistreatment went beyond physical punishment. According to her, there were other dark secrets within the family that had been kept hidden for years. LaToya's admission sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and the public. For years, the Jackson family had been seen as a symbol of success and unity. But LaToya's revelations shattered that image, exposing the painful reality behind the scenes. LaToya Jackson made a surprising revelation that reveals dark truths long kept within the Jackson family. For years, there have been whispers and speculation about the Jackson children's difficult upbringing, particularly under the iron fist of their father, Joe Jackson. However, for most of what happened behind closed doors was either disregarded or cloaked in mystery. LaToya's disclosures, however, have presented a clear and terrible account of the mistreatment that occurred. LaToya confirmed what many had feared, but never fully knew. Joe Jackson was not just a strict parent, he was harsh. LaToya details how her father's methods of discipline were extreme, instilling a constant sense of fear among his children. The Jackson household was far from the picture-perfect image of a loving family that the public was led to believe. Instead, it was a place where the children were subjected to severe punishments for even the smallest mistakes. LaToya described how the atmosphere at home was one of perpetual tension, where the threat of physical punishment loomed over them. But the abuse LaToya's experienced was not limited to the body. She admits that the anguish extended to emotional, psychological, and sexual dimensions as well. Joe Jackson allegedly sexually mistreated her and her sister, Rebby, when they were still living with him. Joe's unwavering control over his children produced profound scars that extended beyond bruises. According to LaToya's story, Joe's emotional manipulation and mental stress were as destructive as the physical violence. According to LaToya, this psychological abuse produced an environment of terror and helplessness in which the children were forced to comply with their father's requests unconditionally. LaToya's revelations are particularly shocking because they confirm suspicions that had lingered for years. The Jackson family, known for their immense talent and success, had long been seen as a paragon of the American dream. However, beneath the surface, there was a darker narrative of control and mistreatment that LaToya has now brought to light. This new understanding of the Jackson family dynamics changes how we view their rise to fame and the personal struggles they endured. What makes LaToya's confession even more painful is her courage in speaking out. The Jackson family has always been fiercely private, and breaking that silence has major dangers. Nonetheless, LaToya chose to expose these terrible truths, possibly in an effort to finally address her previous traumas and clear the air about what truly transpired in the Jackson household. The significance of LaToya's admissions cannot be emphasized. It challenges us to re-examine the Jackson family's success story, recognizing the price they paid behind the scenes. The image of Joe Jackson as the stern but loving father who pushed his children to greatness is now overshadowed by the darker truth of his harsh behavior. LaToya's words also highlight the long-lasting effects of such an upbringing, not just on her, but on all the Jackson children. Finally, LaToya's confession is more than just a disclosure of past wrongs. It's a call to recognize the complex realities that lurk beneath even the most famous families' public identities. It serves as a reminder that fame and money may frequently cover deep-seated grief and suffering, and that the stories we hear may not always be accurate. LaToya's bravery in telling her story reveals the hidden challenges of one of the world's most famous families, forcing us to look past the surface and understand the human cost of their success. Other controversies in the Jackson family. The Jackson family has never been a stranger to controversy, and LaToya's revelations are just one chapter in a long history of public scandals and disputes. Michael Jackson, as the most famous member of the family, was often at the center of these controversies. His legal battles, including the accusations of child mistreatment, were among the most high-profile scandals in the entertainment industry. Despite being acquitted of all charges, the allegations left a permanent stain on his legacy, and LaToya's confirmation of these acts did not fully help his legacy. In addition to Michael's legal difficulties, the Jackson family has been embroiled in infighting and public feuds. Financial issues, legal battles over Michael's estate, and arguments about the family's legacy have all been played out in public. LaToya was involved in several of these arguments, and she frequently clashed with other family members. Perhaps one of the most sad conflicts was how the family handled Michael's unexpected death in 2009. Following his death, there were several legal challenges over his estate. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.